All right, we are live. This is Kyle. Welcome to WMMA Fighters. I have Rachel Kimbrough with me. How you doing, Rachel?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing all right. Thanks for being on with me.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So let's I can't remember. I was talking to Gary. You have a fight upcoming, right?
Yeah, next Saturday.
Next Saturday. Yeah, that's a big day. Who are you fighting with?
Jasmine Montez,
Jasmine Montez.
I think.
What promotion?
Conquest Promotions. It's called Battle at the Gateway in Oberlin,
Nice.
Kansas. Yeah.
Nice. Um,
Yes.
so how much travel is that going to be for you?
I think it's a 7-hour drive
Oh
from where I
wow.
am. Yeah.
So you will be driving, not flying?
Yes. I don't think there are any flights that go there specifically. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I guess that could be worse. So, yeah, if you wouldn't mind, let's walk through your let's do the stereotypical. Let's walk through your MMA journey. Tell us how you got here
Okay.
and what got you into it and what you like most about it.
Okay. Let's do that. So I'm turning 31 next week,
Mhm.
and I got a super late start as far as MMA training goes. I started when I was 28. I started right before my first fight. So I just like, I'm gonna fight now, and so I did. Um, as far as what interests me, uh, lots of actually like true martial artists are not gonna like to hear this, but I got into MMA specifically because it's the thing. I've never been so bad at anything in my entire life. So like, if I discovered that it's true. If I discovered I was really bad at ping pong, I would be playing ping pong. It just so happens I discovered that I'm so bad at this. I was like, well, that's kind of fun. Let's go do that. So like,
Okay.
I'm I am participating in MMA specifically to address the character quality that I hate most about myself, which is
Mhm.
my tendency to want to give up on things that are challenging. Because I'm
Okay.
generally pretty good at things the first time I try it. So then whenever I'm not good at something, I'm like, well, screw that. And I hate that. That's gross. So I'm
Right.
doing MMA because I'm bad at it and I'm still bad at it. I've been doing it for 2 years and I'm still terrible. And I'm just going to keep doing it until either I'm less terrible or I get too old. That's the whole thing.
Well, I can honestly tell you that was the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, I know it's not the typical thing. Usually I'm supposed to be like an athlete hungry for competition. I'm not athletic. I'm sure you've seen my fight. I'm not athletic at all. Or super competitive, not even that competitive, really.
Right.
I don't particularly care about being better than someone else. I just care about being better than, me.
Mhm.
Um yeah, none of the typical things that an MMA fighter will spit out at you really apply here.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's pretty interesting. I'm kind of taken aback, but because I did not expect that. So when you did start doing it, I mean, so I guess the question is, did you just know that you'd be bad at it, or did you go?
No,
What
okay.
was it? Was it like fitness, or what was the reason that got you in there?
I guess yeah, we can go way back.
Yeah.
It was way back in my early. It was like my mid 20s, and I was interested in a boy, and the
Okay.
boy was interested in MMA. So I was like, yeah, I'll totally do that thing, and then went to a jujitsu class. I was like, wow, I'm the worst at this. I'm so bad. It's unbelievable how bad I am at this. Incredible. It kind of blew my mind a little bit. I was like,
Right.
yeah, that's not for me. And it was several years later when that boy's out of the picture anyway. But I was like, how do I go about fixing the part of my personality that I really can't stand about myself? I was like, oh, that's right. Remember that one time I was the worst I've ever been at anything? I'm gonna go do that.
All right then. I mean that's interesting. So we'll leave that to rest for now.
Okay.
So, but no, I'm intrigued by that because um, the fact that you're doing it's pretty cool. So, are you? Do you enjoy doing it?
I do now. I
Yeah,
didn't used to at all. It
yeah,
was pretty rough to start out, but now it's fun.
yeah, yeah. So, what got you into competing? Was it the coaches or trainers, or did you ask about it?
Oh no. My coaches and trainers actively discouraged me
Oh
from
my
engaging in
God.
competition, understandably. But I'm really stubborn. It's like, I'm not asking. I'm telling you that I'm going to do this. Um, I don't really have an answer for that.
Right.
I don't really have an answer for that. It's just like, I guess I'm going to test myself and my non-skills. And like, I think really, I've kind of talked about this before, but I spent so much of my 20s really obsessing over self-improvement in the abstract, meaning like addressing parts of my character and my personality that I didn't like to
Mm-hmm.
improve as a human. And it was a very productive decade. It was also pretty miserable. But I kind of figure that going into my 30s with an attitude of continuing the idea of self-improvement, but in a more measurable way, might be kind of a fun diversion, I guess. And so engaging in competition makes this venture of self improvement something that is measurable and quantifiable in a way that abstract self improvement is not. Like, how do you say, if a person's self improvement goal is like uh, be slower to get angry, like how do you measure that? At one point, can you check that off a list and say, I have accomplished that task? It's too abstract to do that. But with a fight record, that those are numbers. That's very
Right.
clear. And in fact, measure your progress. And that's very attractive to me.
Wow. I like that. That's really interesting. This is the freshest perspective ever, I think, that I've ever heard on MMA, and I mean that in a really good way. And I love how it's not a negative thing, at all. And the way you're approaching it and you've approached it, it's not something to be negative about. So that's really cool. So now that you're, what do you like to train most in, and where do you think your strengths are?
My strengths are definitely on the ground,
Okay.
um, specifically because I have very poor spatial awareness and very poor like distance control. And I feel comfortable saying these things, even though I know that my opponent might see this because like
Right.
she's seen my fight. Anyone who watches my fight will be like, "Wow, you're terrible on your feet." That's pretty obvious. So it's like I can go and acknowledge that right now. That's fine. Whereas when you're on the ground, there's only one plane of existence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of understanding how like physics works in terms of biology and stuff like that. Um, so what I've been training the most for this fight is striking and trying to wrap my mind around how all
Yeah.
that works. I
Right.
think I've made some progress, but we'll find out next week, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I I really love your whole attitude about this. I think it's really really cool. It's one of those things you could sit there and be like, yeah, this sucks, or like you said, there's a record, there's a number, you can measure your progress. But take that out of the equation. If you could look at your progress with your striking, do you feel it's starting to come together?
I feel that for 2 years, in the time that I've been training, um, I compare learning something as foreign to me as striking as learning a foreign language. In so much as for the last couple years, I was more of learning like just vocabulary and phrases and basically reading out of a textbook. And I can mimic anything, but then if you learn all like a bunch of vocabulary words in a foreign language and then think that you're fit to go have a fluent conversation with a native speaker, you'll discover very quickly that all that work, it's cool to have that knowledge, but it doesn't apply in real life.
Okay.
And that's the piece that I think I've been missing. So like I can just do the things that I'm told to do, but until I can enact it in a real life situation, it's not useless, but just not applicable. And I think that's the difference, especially between my last fight and this fight, is that I do feel more like I could participate in a live exchange in a way that I've not been prepared to do before, which is
Okay.
cool.
Yeah, that is really cool, and that's a really awesome, again, more fresh perspective. I love that. And it's like it's kind of like how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time.
Right.
So yeah, you really can't go about it any other way than that. So that I think is a great way to approach it. Now, did you do any athletics in school or when you were growing up?
The only athletics that I did were the things I either had to do or my first ever attempt to address that character. I've had that character quality forever of like
Hmm.
immediately wanting to give up whenever something's challenging. So I'm really terrible with running. I hate running with a fiery passion. So in
Yeah.
seventh grade, I took up cross country. I was like, let's try this. And I stuck with it. I hated every second and I didn't learn anything. So
Yeah.
just like take two on that note. And then in high school, I did volleyball because my school allowed me to count it as credit,
Okay.
like class credit.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not. I don't have a history of being athletic or competitive
Okay.
at all in any way.
I love this. I feel I can really relate to you because there are times when even today, I'm 32, so I sit here and I think, I think the participation trophy was created for me, and it just kind of snowballed into
Yeah.
this thing that it is nowadays. Um, but no, I mean, you do it, and it's really interesting because believe it or not, most fighters that I've talked to anyway, um, didn't have a background in athletics or had very minimal. So that's interesting because you would think that hey, maybe these are people that do this stuff, do athletics and compete for decades. So it's really really cool that that's not always the case. Now I got to ask you, it's probably a stupid question because it's stating the obvious. So you're a musician?
Oh, no, I'm
No?
not. Nope, that's my brother's. That's not
Okay.
mine.
I was about to
Nope.
say, well, let me ask you this. Are you terrible at guitar? Because you might want to pick it up and start playing it.
No, I'm not. That's one thing I'm not terrible at.
Okay.
That actually, I could be musical. I used to play all kinds of instruments when I was a kid and kind
Mhm.
of had a natural knack for it. The only reason I'm not now is because I stopped doing it. That's it. And I totally could have. I was just like, it's not challenging enough, I guess.
Right.
But so no, it's been a long time since I've played anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. God, it's crazy. Like I feel like you're my spirit animal or something because like I really relate to the things you're saying. But yeah, there are sometimes I'm just like, yeah, if it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have participation trophies. You know, but it is what it is. I can tell that you are into it. So what are some of your goals with the sport? Is it just to prove to yourself that you can do it, or which is fine, or do you have like a long term plan or goals that you're shooting for?
I don't really have any goals. I mean, that's I know you want an answer to that, but I
No,
don't
you're
really
fine.
have one.
This is
I'm
an
just gonna
answer.
do it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just gonna do it until my body falls apart. It
yeah.
is like, hey, you don't get to do that anymore. But for now, like I said, I'm about to turn 31, and I still feel physically capable to
Hmm.
participate. I feel like I'm falling apart yet,
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna keep doing the thing.
Yeah, no, you got plenty of time, and like you said, I mean that's an answer in my opinion. I want your answer. You know what I mean? I don't want you to feel like we need what you hear athletes say all the time. I mean, you can plug in any athlete with any interview ever, and it fits.
Oh, I
So
know.
yeah, your answers are what I want, and your answers are really interesting. Like, I'm really really digging this. But no, I think it's really really cool. Now, so you said it was a boy um, that kind of got you
Yeah.
into it. Now, are you a fan of the sport now? Do you
Oh yeah.
watch it?
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess that it's worth mentioning that I come from a family of fight fans anyway. Like I grew up watching boxing matches. We get everyone in our entire extended family, smush them into my grandma's two-bedroom apartment to watch like the Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield fight where he bit his freaking ears off, stuff like that. Like those were the family events that we got to have. So like fighting has always been in my family and in my life experience in general, but never ever did I think I would be participating in any way. Like,
Right.
in any way. That was kind of a left turn for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean,
I've
seems like it. Now, are there's some fighters that you feel like yeah I have to watch them, or that influence you to do this, or maybe hey, I'd like to learn that, or just something along those lines?
There aren't any specific fighters that I uh, I just don't really get involved in anything that way where I
Hmm.
attach significance to an individual rather than to a concept. Um, I will say the only fighter that ever was significant to me was a local fighter named Holly Torres. You know Holly? She fights in Kansas City a lot,
I
or
don't
she
think
used
so.
to. Um, anyway, I went to a Shamrock fight where
Hmm.
Holly was fighting one time, and it was a couple years before I decided I was going to fight. But that was the first time I ever got inspired. Like whenever I was watching her fight, she was so fierce and aggressive, and I was like, I want to do that. But then, of course, my immediate follow up was like, oh, but I can't do that. It took me a couple years to figure out that, like, yeah, I can. I can do what I want. I'm going to do that now.
Right.
Like, went ahead and did the thing. That was the only time that an individual has influenced me in any way.
Okay.
Otherwise, obviously, watching fights has become different. So whenever I used to watch fights before I started training, jujitsu just looks like violent hugging, like really aggressive cuddling. That's it. Like, you don't realize how uncomfortable that stuff is. And like, crowds boo whenever fighters get on the ground and get locked up. And it's like, all right, that looks boring, but that's extremely painful. You just have no frame of reference for it. So fights are a lot more interesting to watch now just because I understand what's happening and can pay attention to technique and be like, oh, that's cool. Stuff like that.
I'm sorry. I had to tweet that out right now. That is the quote of the year right now. Jiu-jitsu just looks like violent hugging. I'm dying. That's amazing. Yeah, that's funny, but it's true. And you mentioned the booing. This is something I've talked about quite a bit. I cannot stand when fans boo, and I hate to do the quote marks things, but it's the truth because most of these people have no idea what they're looking at, and it drives me absolutely wacko. It's like, what are you booing at? Like, when was the last time you did anything, literally anything physical, besides go grab a beer and
Yeah.
talk about the highly trained athletes in the cage that you're now booing? So, it's ridiculous. I'm not saying that they have to be a pro athlete, but it's like, at least take the time to understand what you're looking at, you know?
Or alternative, like if you're not going to take the time to learn about what you're watching, at least accept the reality that applies across the board that if someone has made something difficult look easy, it's because it's not.
Right.
Because it's not easy and they're so trained that it looks to you like a casual fan like I can do that. Like, no man, nah, that doesn't apply to anything, not just fighting, but like literally anything in the
Right.
world. Come
Right.
on.
It's the truth. It is the truth. And yeah, that is hilarious. So, okay. So, um, what weight class do you fight in?
Either 125 or 135. I prefer to fight at 125
Okay.
because whenever I fight at 135, I'm a little bit doughy and it's kind of gross. Not in my best shape ever. Like right now, currently, not looking awesome as I'm fighting at 135. And I have to hang on to this bonus weight. And I don't have the muscle mass to justify it. But most of the fight offers I get are for 135. And I this is going to sound like a brag, but it's actually a really stupid thing. I'm not afraid of humans at all. I'm afraid of
Right.
wasps. I'm not afraid of humans. So if someone offers me a fight, my answer is going to be yes. And then after that, I'm like, oh wait, what weight class? So even when I probably should turn down fights, I probably should have turned down my last fight because that girl destroyed me. But I don't have enough fear to make good decisions about fights. So I just take everything. Anyway, that was a long answer to a really simple question.
Now,
135 right.
but you would guarantee turn down a fight against the Wasp.
Listen, I don't know. Here's the thing. I kind of wonder if the way that I'm going to die is by getting stung by a wasp and discovering that I'm allergic to them. Because I've never been stung, because I make a really specific effort to be as far away as possible from any area that contains a wasp. So I don't know. I let them, I'm like, you win, wasp. This is your territory. I'm going
Right.
to go way over there till you're done.
Yeah. Besides stinging, what do they do? Anything? They
Just
eat little bugs?
angry. You do nothing. No,
Yeah.
they don't contribute to any ecosystem at all. They just
Yeah.
walk into a biome and act like jerks and then sting you like, haha, and then go away.
Yeah.
They're just there to ruin your day. That's
Yeah,
all they do.
they are. They're terrifying. So this has been your science moment here on WMMA
Yep.
Fighters. All right,
This is exactly what they're wanting, isn't it? A discussion about wasps.
oh,
You're welcome, Stuart.
that's why I love this, and that's why I love doing it live, because there was a time, I'm about to ask you a couple questions here. I said I asked really hard hitting stuff, and here it comes. Do you like pizza?
I do.
Do you think pineapple belongs on pizza?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
What did she say?
She said absolutely not. So we are the good guys, and we are getting crushed by people who like that filth. So
Yeah. What is happening? Like,
right.
it's always been a thing, but right now it's like a socio-political movement about
Yeah.
pineapple on pizza. I'm like, come on, you guys are objectively wrong. Let it go.
Right. But yeah, like I said, we had that's hard hitting. That's hard hitting, dramatic questions that people really
real-
want to hear. So, so what are some of your favorite foods or your guilty pleasures?
I mean, you kind of nailed it. Pizza. That's my
Pizza.
go-to. I figured out how to make like diet nonsense pizza that's like, I'm cutting weight, but I can still have pizza. But like, it's like, you know how Jenny Craig chocolate is just close enough to real chocolate to make you really want the thing,
Yeah.
but not enough to satisfy it. Yeah, that's what my like diet versions of real foods are like, including pizza. It's just a constant disappointment, but I still try it
Yeah.
to know. Yeah,
Well,
that's.
maybe one day you'll perfect it. You never
I'm
know.
trying.
Yeah. I mean, you just never. We all have a calling, right? And
That's right.
it just.
I think that's mine. Mine is to perfect the diet pizza.
I mean,
One of these days.
this is a thing. You could be on something like where fighters never have to diet disgustingly ever again. You know, I mean, you could change lives, and you just don't know it yet.
It's true. A mover and a shaker as it pertains to pizza. Just
Yeah.
you wait.
So
Yeah.
you should buy a domain name or something on GoDaddy after this, just in case, because you never know. They're cheap. They're like $12. So, you know, $12 a
Google it.
year. Yeah.
Dietpizza.com.
Dietpizza.com.
Pizzabykimbrough.com.
There you go. There you go. So okay, good. So no pineapple on pizza. So what are some things you like to do with your downtime? I can't imagine you have too much, but
I don't have a whole lot of downtime. I don't even know how to answer that question. I
Yeah.
don't have downtime.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to say to that.
you know, and that usually is how it is. I mean, I know the scheduling. Now, do you work another job as well?
I have a couple things going on. I do work another job. I also just started a writing service business because I've always been freelance writing. It's kind of my thing.
Okay.
But I've always done it just like super, super part-time.
Mhm.
Decided recently, let's see if I can do a real thing about that. So like put myself out there a little bit more, and then my business exploded. So now I'm building a team and went ahead and made it official and turned it into an LLC. So
is
that
awesome.
is currently taking up all of my time. Like
Mhm.
that's all I do. If I'm not at work, I'm doing that or training. That's it.
Okay. So obviously do you have a website for that?
Not yet. Like this is like brand spanking new
Brand new?
information. Like as of like this week, it was like, oh, I need to do a thing, like a capital T thing right now.
Right. Okay. Well,
So no.
if you'd like and you really get this stuff moving, just let me know, and I'll share and get stuff out there if you want.
Sweet. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean it's just part of it, I think. But yeah, that's really cool. I do some of that on the side as well. It's something I've been wanting to really get into, but wouldn't even know where to start, to be honest.
That's kind of whenever I started back into it this time. I started out with the intention of eventually building like a writers collective.
Mhm.
On one hand, with the idea of freeing up more of my time to take on the projects that I want to instead of the ones that I have to gain access to the ones I want.
Right.
But also specifically to address that, because there are so many talented writers out there, or people who just have time and are like, well, I could be doing something with this time. But it's so hard to get your start. It's so hard just to get like even one like little gig or anything. It's very difficult to set yourself out from the crowd. But that happens to be one thing that I'm really good at because I've been doing it for a long time. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this whole thing. It's like I have a workload for 5 people, and it's been just me handling it for a few months now. I'm dying currently dead.
Yeah.
So I might as well be delegating some of that to the people who have trouble finding the work but are able to do it. That's what I'm doing.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I can see kind of an undead aura about you. So you definitely
You would
need a
never
break.
know it, but I'm a walking corpse. It's true. There's not enough coffee in the world.
Right. Well, that's really cool. But yeah, you get some info, and I'd love to get it out there, and would love to talk about it more. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Cool.
If you're down. But I got one more question for you.
Okay.
And this one is kind of hard hitting, so hold on to your chair. What are your 3 keys to success?
Whoa, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay.
Yeah, we took a turn.
I don't know. This is what I think. I think that's so highly subjective and so abstract that I can just come up with 3 words that are like all encompassing, but even that doesn't really define the abstract. Do you know what I mean? Like they're the really obvious ones, like diligence, hard work, integrity, and honor, and things like that. Like all of those words apply, but I don't have a sectional breakdown of how I address success. I think that the best way I can answer that is to not give you 3 words, but to answer it how I think it's true, which is, I think the actual foundation, like the core foundation of success, is the ability and willingness to be honest with yourself, which is very difficult for people because it's really hard to hold up a mirror when you know you're not going to like what you see, right? But that, as it turns out, is step 1 to improving yourself, thereby improving your life, right? Even if you have a great life, if you hate yourself and don't even know it, then you're going to be miserable all the time.
Yeah.
So it seems like a really boiled down and like kind of one-dimensional answer, but I think that's where it starts for literally everyone on the planet, is being completely honest with yourself, getting a complete picture of who you are and what you think of yourself, and taking steps to correct what you don't like and put yourself in positions that maximize your strengths.
Perfect. Well, I'm not going to lie, that was not those words, but that is what I expected as far as an answer. I think that was fantastic. I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of fun talking with you. This has been great, and I wish you the best of luck. I would love to talk to you again. I definitely have some things I'm going to reach out to you about, and yeah, I mean, go out there and fight and do what you can, and maybe you'll surprise yourself.
We'll find out.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming on here on a Friday and changing the time. I really appreciate that.
No problem. I had fun. This was a fun one.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So, yeah, I really, really enjoyed talking with you. And I have a partner in crime here, my 9-year-old. She wants to ask you something.
Goodbye.
Never mind. She wants to say goodbye. All right.
Okay, bye.
Well, you have a good night, and we'll talk soon.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks again.
See ya. All right. That was Rachel Kimbrough. That was one of the most fun interviews ever. Really good perspective. So check this out. We'll be live tomorrow with Cade Dement and Brittany Neiman, 12:30 and 5:30 Eastern times. And that is it for tonight. We also did episode 18 of the audio podcast. Posted that a couple hours ago, so be sure to check that out also. And thanks for listening, and have a good night.